live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks so much for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. Monday, August 21st. Going in depth tonight on the weather impacts we're seeing all across the state from Tropical Storm Hilary, really across the region. We're tracking strong winds, the potential for some flash flooding over the next few days. But before we dive in, here's a look at what is making headlines tonight. You can find all these stories on our website right now, KUTV.com. There's new leadership at the Utah National Guard. We've been talking about this for the last few days. Today, Governor Spencer Cox appointed a new adjutant general after Major General Michael Turley was put on administrative leave last week. Brigadier General Daniel Boyack was appointed by the governor to lead the National Guard. That's effective immediately. Also in our headlines tonight, a Sandy family looking for answers after a homophobic slur spray painted on their son's car. It happened 2 nights in a row. Sandy police are investigating, and a school resource officer at Brighton is also aware of this incident. That story coming up a little bit later on in our newscasts. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are in Maui right now as cleanup efforts continue from the deadly wildfires there. The Bidens are set to meet with first responders, officials, and residents impacted by the fires. They've already been touring that area this afternoon. It's back to school season. Tomorrow, students in the Salt Lake City School District have their very first day of school. And tomorrow on 2 News at 4, we're dedicating the half hour to back to school coverage, the issues facing students and districts in the new school year. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. Use the hashtag 2 News Live to join the conversation. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can send me a direct message to weigh in any of those spots. Well, it's a first alert weather day here on 2 News at 5:30, tracking the remnants of Tropical Storm Hilary moving into the state tonight. Seeing some strong winds, the potential for flash flooding. And right now, I hate to say I'm underwhelmed, but I'm a little underwhelmed based on what has happened in other states. We've been showing you video from what happened in California. We've been showing you video from what happened in Nevada. Joe Margitz is here with your first alert forecast. What is happening here in Utah? Those are the people we're serving.
Yes.
What's happening here?
Okay, so in St. George, I know you've been a little underwhelmed.
I have.
But
I see that cell moving up though.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in the southwest corner, and this whole time we thought that's probably going to be the most active area. So let's go to it. I want to show you what's happening in St. George. We've got some really dark storm clouds, and there it is. You can see that thunderstorm.
They're moving on in, Joe.
Yes,
here we go.
It's right on top of St. George right now, and so we're keeping an eye on St. George and Washington County. Plus, temperatures are going to drop like a rock. We've been in the 80s all day. We're probably going to end up in the 70s shortly here as we've got thunderstorms moving through. Those winds east-southeast sustained at 26 miles per hour right now. Now there's a steady stream of moisture going up all through Utah, but you're right. We haven't seen anything too strong in the Wasatch Front. That could actually change later tonight, and we'll talk more about that. But I want to dive into these storms down south because I just teased you with that shot of St. George. And if you're watching from St. George right now, look at this massive thunderstorm cell. The first one's coming through. You can see how the others were in a straight line, but are now kind of joining together to make one massive cell that it's going to come through and put down some really heavy rain that could lead to some flash flooding. You can also see this little cell racing up towards Cedar City. You'll get hit in the next half an hour or so, and then to the east of Kanab. Let's get a little closer to this cell though, because this is the most impressive looking one on top of Ivins, Santa Clara, St. George right now. Washington, you're about to get hit. If we zoom out just a touch, you can see that there's hail coming up this way. There's lightning that's popping up all across the map. So this is really one you want to get inside for because it's not going to be just a short one coming through. Look at all the heavy rain that's coming in behind that thunderstorm cell. Now, we knew today that there was a risk for severe weather. So here it comes this evening, right? We're going to see it right now in that southwest corner. Although a warning has not been issued for that cell yet, we'll let you know if that happens. But wherever you see bright green on this map, and that includes the Wasatch Front, portions of southwest Wyoming, central Utah, southern Utah, that means this evening there are still chances for severe storms. And going into tomorrow, wherever you see the bright green, that's southwest Wyoming again, the Wasatch Front, a small portion of central Utah diving down the southwest corner, pretty much follows I-15 all the way down. This is the area tomorrow from morning through night that we could see more severe weather. So we're not done yet. And we're definitely going to keep rain chances in for the remainder of the work week, which we'll talk about next. But wind gusts. Wind's been another big issue. It's been very blustery out there today. Winds will calm down a little bit tonight and then pick right back up tomorrow. We'll talk more about that, plus the rain coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, thank you, Jill. We'll check in with you in a couple. Remember, you can always download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get updated forecasts and that live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. We'll get back to Jill in just a few. Let's go in depth tonight. We're in the wake of Hurricane Hilary, and while the storm is dying down, experts say we could have some other weather-related issues to worry about, right? Jill was just talking about some of those concerns in the southwest corner of the state. High winds could be a problem for semis, RVs in areas right now that we could also have debris down from burn scars in parts of northern Utah. Paul Nelson is live in the weather lab tonight. Paul, where are you? What are you seeing right now? I know that you've been talking most of the afternoon about those high winds and what UDOT has been saying about the concern and the threshold for what they need to see for an alert.
Right. Now, for right now, we are still on I-80, and this was the freeway that UDOT was actually most concerned about, especially in the west. Right now, we are kind of heading back towards Salt Lake City. As we just passed the airport, we're approaching Redwood Road right now. Now, as you can tell, a lot of cloud cover overhead over those Wasatch Mountains. And so what UDOT officials were telling me was that many times when they start to see semis and RVs kind of get toppled over, that's when wind gusts are pretty much around 55 to 60 miles an hour. They were saying that they didn't expect to get quite that severe. However, that's the problem when it's almost at the threshold. And when that happens, there could be sudden gusts that happen just kind of out of nowhere. And yeah, there could be semis or RVs that topple, especially those that are not carrying anything, that don't really have anything to weigh them down. So even though they didn't have to issue an official warning, they did put the basically just kind of warnings on the sign saying just be mindful of the wind speeds that are out there, because they can become a problem even though they haven't reached technically as high as maybe the danger levels are.
Paul, what are you seeing in the weather lab tonight? At least when I look out the window here in Salt Lake, some light rain, and maybe not even light rain, some light winds, but some rain starting to fall in the southern part of the state. So what are you guys seeing?
Well, right here, we're not seeing the rain falling, at least not yet. We'll see a couple of maybe sprinkles. Me and my photographer Dario saw some sprinkles, but really nothing to write home about. However, what weather officials or fire officials actually are telling me is that there could be some issues when it comes to burn scars. For example, there are 3 burn scars that they're paying close attention to. One is the one by Jacob City that was by Stockton. That burned around 4,000 acres, and there really could be, it doesn't have to have a whole lot of water before a lot of mud and debris kind of come down the mountain. Also, the other ones that they're worried about, they're paying attention to the Halfway Hill, and that was in Millard County, and also the Dual Creek fire that was up in Centerville. That just happened last year. So there are some burn scars that they're saying they could be problem areas because the vegetation hasn't grown enough to kind of give enough cover so that the mud and the debris just doesn't come down the mountains. But at the same time, we haven't seen that yet. They're just kind of keeping their eye on that.
Paul Nelson keeping the eye on the roads too. Paul, we appreciate you. As we follow the remnants of Tropical Storm Hilary and what has fizzled out now here in Utah, crews are making plans to respond in case of severe weather impacts, possibility in southern Utah, right? Emma Riley spoke with the American Red Cross and Rocky Mountain Power. Emma, what are they doing to prepare and what are they looking at?
Yeah, the American Red Cross tells me that they have more than 200 volunteers in Utah that are on standby 24/7, and those crews can set up shelters and provide resources to the people in those areas that are affected. As of yesterday afternoon, she told me they weren't having those conversations with local emergency management just yet, but they are on standby. They're on standby 24/7. And then I also spoke with Rocky Mountain Power, who they're also preparing for those power outages as well. They tell me that the high winds are what's concerning, and obviously the severe thunderstorms that can cause outages. They told me the areas that they are looking at are the Cedar City area for now. So they haven't had a lot of power outages yet, but that's what they're looking at right now.
Emma, what's the overall message here? I mean, we could obviously have storms all the way through pretty clear to the fall at this point, right? We're just in that pattern, but are they preparing for this, saying this is definitely of concern this time around? Is this one of those that's saying, hey, when you look at the forecast, maybe a week from now, what is their mindset?
Yeah, well, one thing they emphasize the most is people preparing as well, and they actually have how to prepare outage kits on the Rocky Mountain Power website, and also the American Red Cross was emphasizing preparing for floods as well. So they didn't say anything was abnormal. They told me this is something that they should prepare for, that they look at and prepare for throughout all seasons in Utah.
Emma Riley, thank you very much. We'll check in with you coming up a little bit later tonight. The remnants here from Hilary still having some serious impacts when it comes to transportation. Airlines are trying to pick back up after hundreds of flights were canceled. I want to take a quick look for you when it comes to some of the flights that we're talking about. FlightAware is a great resource. If you reach out to the Salt Lake Airport like we do, they typically send you here because this website tracks a lot of the flight activity. I want to talk to you about the misery map. It's one of my favorites. If this plays here, it will. This is going to show you the areas that were really impacted by delays and cancellations throughout the day. We have it full for you. You can see Los Angeles right here towards the top. Denver, Los Angeles kind of bouncing back and forth as we make our way through into the early morning hours today. Those are the airports that were really impacted. Salt Lake City, as you can see, not as much of a concern. So our own Keeley Prosser is hoping to board a plane shortly and make it back here to Salt Lake City. We talked to her earlier today.
I was supposed to fly out yesterday, Sunday, and my flight actually got canceled Saturday morning about 11 a.m. So I was assuming that they preemptively just canceled all flights on Sunday because when I went to rebook it, there was no option on Sunday and originally nothing on Monday either. And then I waited on hold for 2 hours with Southwest for them to tell me that they could get me on a Monday night flight at 7 p.m. flying through Vegas, but that was the best they could do. So I switched to that. So my flight's in 5 hours and hopefully everything's good, but it hasn't been raining at all today, so hopefully we're good. I mean, I really hope it doesn't happen again. My main thing is that since I have a connecting flight, I'm a little worried about that because I have to make both flights, and I have a feeling that a lot of people that are flying out today were people that were originally supposed to fly out yesterday. So I don't know how much extra room there's going to be on other flights. It's also a little concerning just because my flight is so late in the day that I don't know how many options there will be today after my flight. But that's what worked, and I was able to still work today because of it. So I don't know. I'm kind of just praying and hoping that everything will be good, but I've been checking my app like every 10 minutes, so.
Well, that seems to be the hope there is San Diego and Las Vegas, which is one to the other for Miss Prosser here, who works here at 2 News. Those are the 2 most active, smaller-ish, medium-sized airports right now over the last couple of days with cancellations and delays. A lot of the misery map showed you, of course, Los Angeles. They showed you Denver as kind of those top 2 large-scale ones. But when we were looking at some of the itemized data, San Diego was having the issues, right? Because that's part of where Hilary tried to make her mark when she made landfall. Let's check back in with Jill. Jill, I know you were looking at the St. George area right now, and it's definitely filling in.
Yeah, it is, and the thunderstorm's right overhead, so I wanted to check back in with this thunderstorm. Oh, we caught one live. Did you see that? That lightning strike right now in St. George. There's a big thunderstorm overhead. We'll get to that. 82 degrees. Winds are strong out there. Here's that thunderstorm, and there's multiple that have come together and made just one large thunderstorm, all heading towards St. George. There's lightning, there's hail, there's heavy rain. Another one just zipped past Zion National Park, and you can see it's actually quite a few thunderstorms that are heading toward Bryce Canyon right now, creeping over that Arizona-Utah border. But in St. George, ooh, it looks nasty, doesn't it? The bright red colors on the map showing that heavy rain. With this much rain coming up from the south, there could be some flooding in St. George. Also some hail that you can see right here on the radar map that's about to cross over Arizona and into Utah. Now up here in northern Utah, we haven't seen a whole lot today. We have seen some in Garden City and Cache Valley, but right along the Salt Lake Valley, not a whole lot. There's been some on again, off again showers, but going into tonight, there is a threat, an ongoing threat for some severe weather still across the Salt Lake Valley, central Utah, mostly the south southwest portion of Utah as well. And that's the same for tomorrow. So some of these storms, you can see they get pretty nasty late tonight in south central Utah, maybe 1 or 2 in the Price area. More that come up while we're sleeping in the Salt Lake Valley and the Wasatch Front. This is 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then a little bit more as we're starting off the school day tomorrow. I know for elementary school kids, it's their first day in the Jordan School District. So, ooh, maybe starting it off a little bit wet. We'll have to wait and see. Cache Valley gets a little wet 10 a.m. You can see west central and the southwest corner get active again tomorrow. And you can see throughout the day, we are tracking storms. In fact, Tuesday tomorrow will probably be the most active day of the next 7. So something we're definitely watching for. The 7-day forecast, I promised you that. We'll start with St. George. It's going to be very active in St. George tomorrow. Just a slight chance as we head into Wednesday. Thursday, again, very active. Friday, small chance again. And then we're back to triple digits, but that doesn't happen until next week. And as we look at the 7-day forecast, Salt Lake City, 81 thunderstorms for tomorrow. And like I mentioned, I think tomorrow will be the most active day that we've seen over the last few days, and then the coming days. We've got small chances. Those are just small chances Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, Saturday, maybe a 30-40% chance, and then we're back to the 90s. So enjoy this cooler weather. It's definitely been nice. We have 4 more days in the 80s, and then we jump back to the low 90s, right where we should be this time of year.
Well, we were waiting and seeing kind of when that precip was going to make its way into parts of Utah, and obviously it seems like tomorrow's that day.
Tomorrow's kind of the day. Today's been the day for some people. I mean, it's hard to track exactly where these storms are going to pop up, but there's definitely been some stronger storms today as well, and tonight.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Keep an eye out. As always, if you've got something good for us, you can always send it to us and chime in, but you can, stream us wherever you want and wherever you have your access. It's a phone, it's a tablet, it's a computer. We are streaming in all of these platforms you see on your screen right now. It's the Stir app, News On. You can find all of these easy ways to get us. Apple TV, Google Play, Fire TV, Roku, you name it. Jill, thanks for hanging out with us. This was cool. I know, obviously, as we look into the evening hours, there's that sort of overnight concern. Heads up St. George, though, if you're not already looking at the sky right now.
Yeah, it looks like St. George will actually be in for it for a little while because you saw that bright coloring on the map to the south of them. It's all still coming up from south to north.
Okay, the time is now. Be careful out there. Thanks for watching 2 News Live tonight. We're back tomorrow. Have a great rest of your evening. And if you're around a television, why don't you join us for 2 News at 6, coming up in about 12 minutes. We'll see you then.